I'm here with Dan, one of our Australian clients, and Dan is going to reveal what's it like being here in Asuncion, Paraguay. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thanks for having me, Gerald. It's been an enjoyable couple of weeks here, actually. I've managed to get a lot of productive work time in, but the process for me, and I'll try and keep it short and sweet because it goes back a number of years from where I made the decision to live an international life. It all started on YouTube and doing a lot of research on multiple channels and a little bit of an awakening that we, especially in my country, Australia, were all given around the COVID times and how the trajectory of the world was going to be for us moving forward. And that really pushed me down the direction of wanting to become a little bit more international. And on that process, I discovered Paraguay. I already live in Malaysia, so I've exited Australia and no longer do any business or have any connections with Australia apart from friends and family, of course. But I was looking for a more permanent long-term plan B, and it is a plan B for me right now, which could turn into a plan A. I see a lot of business and opportunity in Asia, and I'm engaging in that, and I'm really enjoying the Asian lifestyle because a lot of young entrepreneurs from Australia and Western countries who see the same trajectory that's happening in the West, they're all rocking up in Asia. So I'm surrounded by entrepreneurs, really motivated, interesting young people. They're all the future business leaders. So I'm really enjoying that, but I don't see any permanent or ability to create a permanent, establish myself in Asia. I don't see too many pathways to become a citizen, and I'm not Asian. So I'm half Guyanese. My mum is from South America, so I have a little connection to this continent. I can't speak Spanish, but I just figured after doing research on your channel and others, and then understanding the tax benefit for someone like me who earns income online, I figured why not give it a go.
I like how you pointed out and differentiated what you can get out of Asia, and the same also for a place like Paraguay. Now, what's interesting is that, at one point in the future, I was also looking to immigrate to Australia. Believe it or not, but I received a job offer, I think it was in 2016 or 2017, from a client of mine who I was coaching in CPA marketing. And he told me, Gerald, why don't you come live in Australia? And there was a big decision for me back then because I was living in Asia. I was spending time in Vietnam and I felt like Australia, why not? Because back then, that's like 8 years ago. I mean, it feels like a lifetime ago because so much has happened since then.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt like I should take this chance. But then I felt like Australia is so isolated. And I'm talking before about how overly protective Australia is about its biosecurity. And believe it or not, the main reason why I did not immigrate to Australia is because of this guy here. Because I could not bring him into Australia. It was a nightmare. They requested me to bring the dog first into Singapore, and then from Singapore into Australia, and obviously the whole process was going to be very expensive, but I decided not to do it.
Yeah.
Now, you see Southeast Asia as a place to live and enjoy your life because, in my humble opinion, Southeast Asia offers the highest quality of life in the entire world. But Southeast Asia lacks real residency. Like here, for instance, right? You can get residency without proving economic solvency, which is incredible. In Southeast Asia, that would be impossible. I don't know of any country that does that. Like Cambodia has these renewable visas, but they keep changing on the fly. But you spend time in Southeast Asia to further advance your business, correct? And where do you see yourself in South America, say in 3 to 5 years' time? Do you see yourself living here part-time? Do you see yourself just spending a few months per year here? Like, what's your overall trajectory for South America?
I don't know is the honest answer, but I suspect I might establish a home and a family here. So the reason I started on this journey is because Australia, I'll try not to drag this on too long, but there's a lot of information. Australia is a paradise. Australia is full of wonderful people, and I'm so grateful to have grown up and seen the Australia of the 1980s and the 1990s and the 2000s. But there is now two Australias, and the two Australias are landlords and rent slaves. And I use that word rent slaves deliberately because the way the economic situation has progressed with serious benefits to property owners and investors, it's really closed the door to anyone who is not in that game. And so I think many young Australians have got a choice to make, and it's pretty easy. If you are going to inherit property or money, you should buy a place and get a steady job and you'll be fine, because property investment is like a protected class in Australia. All the politicians own that, they're the highest property investor class, and all the baby boomers are the biggest voter class. So that ain't going to change. So if you're in property, you'll do really well. But if you are not staring down the barrel of an inheritance, or like me, you've got to wait for your parents to die, which I'm not waiting for. I'm quite happy having them around. And if you want to start a business or be an entrepreneur, Australia will not allow you to be creative and start a company for a number of reasons. It's the cost of land, it's the cost of labor, it's the cost of electricity. Those reasons alone are some really good reasons why you just would not touch Australia for most business cases. Of course, you could be a politician, you could go and work for a big corporate, you could be a miner. There are some exceptions, and I'm sure I've forgotten other things, and obviously investing in property. But if you need to bootstrap the creation of a new company, if you've got the idea and you know it's successful, my previous career, I've got 20 years experience behind me, and I know I can do this next thing, Australia's just not the place to do it, because you will be destroyed by the points that I just discussed. And then add the taxes and the cost of living. You can be on a top salary paying a top tax rate, and you're never going to own a house. It's so unobtainable now for someone. I'm 41. I did buy a property in my 20s, but I sold it because I wanted to start a company. So I spent the next 15 years, paying wages, taxes, and overheads. And I tried to get on the property ladder, and I did save, but it just got more expensive every year. To then COVID and the realizations that the world was changing, that's when I made the decision, you know what? Australia is not the place to start and raise a family if you're going to be an entrepreneur. You'll be destroyed. There's a very good chance you'll be destroyed and I don't mean physically, I mean financially. So I think I see Asia and South America and other places around the world, and I'm bumping into a lot of young Aussies doing the same as me, and Brits as well, actually, as a place that gives you freedom, because you're not being burdened by these huge overheads from cost of living, accommodation, wages. I'm building a team now in Asia and in South America. There's no way I could take those sorts of risks and hire 4 people, which is soon going to be 8 people, and achieve that in Australia, because the wages that they require just to live, let alone be successful, will send you bankrupt. So that's I hope I haven't dragged on too long, but that's the trajectory. That's what led me to this thought process, and the opportunity is there in Asia to live a fantastic life and to take massive business opportunities. But for establishing yourself and maybe perhaps living the rest of your life, obviously this is going to require learning Spanish, which I haven't mastered yet. I think South America, and I see a number of reasons for this, is probably a good place for that. A couple of those reasons are people are just really friendly. The women are beautiful. That's just a fact if you're a bloke. The food is absolutely fantastic. That's a big thing for me. I travel a lot. This Saturday I'll get on my 80th flight for this year, and I notice food and how I feel in a place. And South America, from Colombia to Paraguay to Brazil, the food is fantastic. And so to answer your question, where do I see myself? Maybe living up to 6 months of the year in Colombia, having a presence here in Paraguay, and then bouncing around the rest of the world. That was a long answer.
Well, thank you for the detailed answer. One thing that I think we'll learn from this statement of yours is that the 5-flag theory applies to you more than other people, because you're very international, right? You're an international entrepreneur. You have business interests in multiple countries. And one thing that you told me privately which was quite interesting to listen to, is how long it takes just to save up for the apartment deposit should you buy an apartment in Australia. You were referring to the average person needing to save up probably about 3 to 4 decades just to have the down payment.
That's a house.
Okay, just to have the down payment
if
for
you
a
earn
house.
an average salary and you want to buy the average house in Sydney, just following a normal savings rate, the time it would take to save up that deposit is 41 years. Obviously, you can start with an apartment, and that's just that figure makes it look quite drastic, but apartments are not that affordable in Australia when you look around the rest of the world. And if you're 40 and you're thinking, maybe I want to have a family at some point, if you didn't buy a place like me and got into business, you don't have that time to allow all that capital appreciation to allow you to make the jump into the house. So that's probably one of the things that was on my mind. And I just actually see much more opportunity in other countries now. Politically and economically, Australia is accelerating in this direction.
Oh. Yeah, not good. I mean, you were talking about there being 2 categories, landlords and tenants. Now, I own an apartment in Tenerife that I'm now going to sell because the laws are structured in a way to benefit the tenants and not the landlords. Like, eviction laws are just terrible. They're horrible. They're impossible. It makes no sense to own a home.
Sure.
If you can kick your tenant out, if they should decide to default on their payments, what's the point? What's the point of owning a home?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's going to be more people just keeping money in the bank or investing in cryptocurrencies and stuff instead of putting their money into jurisdictions where the government's not protecting them. So here in Paraguay, and I think at some point you might want to consider buying here, but maybe that's still a bit far out, right? However, I think here you can protect yourself so much better. Whereas in Europe, not a good place to own real estate. I mean, I'm talking about the European Union. In the US, it's better. It depends on the state, But that's interesting. Do you have any thoughts you want to share with us?
Look, this has just been I think if anyone who's watching this is going through a similar thought process to me, all I would say is just make the jump. You're not going to regret it, except that you're going to have to learn Spanish if you're going to really invest some time on the ground here, or understand that the opportunities for online business operators or people earning money internationally, it's real. And so maybe take that approach first and then make a decision on where you want to base yourself in the future. But the opportunities are endless, and it's quite an exciting world outside of Australia. Australia is still wonderful. Don't regret it one bit. Love returning. Love all my family and friends there. So I'm not dissing Australia, but if you're maybe feeling trapped in your job or your business, and you maybe do understand or don't yet understand that you're just being strangled financially and you can't see a way out, I think the future looks bright outside of Australia. That's all I have to say.
And one thing I want to add is that a person like you has the opportunity to leave Australia. I mean, think about how many Australians are daydreaming about the life that you are living right here.
So, yeah. But if you're, actually, I should probably stress, if you're a young guy, work hard, save your money, and get out of the country as soon as you can, because there's other things at play geopolitically. If you're a young guy in your 20s, there's a very real chance that you could get conscripted into the military. And if you're interested in that, that's fine. I travel all around the world, and all of the Western countries are changing their laws right now. And for sure, if you think that that's something you want to participate in, go ahead and do it. But if you're not, subscribing to that way of thinking, just save your money and come and reap the rewards. It's so easy to get a digital nomad visa in so many countries, right. And South America is here. That there is a lot of opportunity cruising around the streets here and seeing the amount of development that's coming into Asuncion. It reminds me of other boom cities that I've seen around the world. You can tell when you see so many cranes and so much construction, you're like, stuff's happening here. and a high quality of life is being lived by many locals. There's some really nice houses here, and the restaurants that I have been to, so much better than anything I've experienced even just the other day in Monaco in the south of France. And I paid for a really nice dinner for 2 people and drinks, the equivalent of about 100 Australian bucks. A dinner that I would expect to pay $600 in Sydney, I paid $100.
That's a bargain.
It's incredible.
So thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you next time in Paraguay.
Thanks for all your help, Gerald. I'll close on the fact that if you don't use an agent like Nomad Elite and you don't speak Spanish, you're going to really struggle trying to do this yourself. So it's 110% worth your time to engage the services of someone like yourself and Jesse, because there's no way I could have got through this myself, not in a timely manner. It would be impossible. It's too many hoops to jump through.
Yeah. Well, what we aim to do at Nomad Elite is we aim to simplify the entire process. So we're very glad to hear that we managed to do that for you. If you're interested in obtaining Paraguay residency, please visit the website that appears on the screen now. We also added a link below this video, and we look forward to welcoming you to this beautiful country. Thank you so much for watching. We see you on the next video.